Tibet, a mysterious and beautiful place, and is located in
China.
But this video is not about politics, nor is this channel, and the place where our story began is not even in Tibet. It's in Litown County of the neighboring Sichuan province. Litown, which can be directly translated as the Pond of Reason, is predominantly inhabited by Tibetans, and you'll be the judge of what happened next was reasonable or not. The protagonist of our story today is Tenzin Chondu, also known as Dingjin the Pearl, because Tenzin is Dingjin in Chinese, and apparently Chondu means pearl in Tibetan. I might be wrong on this one, but anyway, we'll be calling him Dingjin from now on. Dingjin was born in 2001, and for a while, became the most famous man in China, only to be hated by tens of millions of people in the country afterward. What happened? Well, as of November 10th, 2020, Dingjin, who was 19 at the time, was just an ordinary herdsman, with more than 90 yaks, these furry Tibetan cattle, to his name, or rather, his parents' name. By the way, one of these yaks is worth like $2,000, while these days, all I can afford is these beef-flavored ramen noodles. Anywho, Dingjin's net worth will soon surpass 90 Tibetan yaks, thanks to a photographer who goes by the name Brother Bo. Brother Bo was taking a series of portraits of smiling local villagers in Litown and planned to turn them into an exhibition, because people like that sort of stuff, I guess. And on November 11th, he was going to do a photo shoot for Dingjin's younger brother Nima, which sounds like your mom in Chinese, not that it's relevant, at Dingjin's uncle's home. And remember this uncle, we'll come back to him later because it turns out he's somewhat of a boy. So Nima was not home that day since he was in school. And Brother Bo turned to Dingjin and made a 7-second video where he walked while smiling coyly toward the camera, and this blew up on China's social media like the country's first nuclear bomb. Within 24 hours, this video got 2.4 million likes on Douyin, China's version of TikTok, and before long everyone was talking about him. His own Douyin account attracted over 2 million subscribers within just the first day. But why? Well, according to this Douyin user, I must marry Suda Masaki in the next life, is because Dingjin looks so wild and yet so innocent at the same time. Now, although I'm a very handsome man myself in real life, I'll find it very condescending if someone calls me wild and innocent, because it feels like they're saying that I'm a peasant and I'm dumb. But who cares about what I think, and Chinese women certainly don't, because they went fangirling hard for my boy Dingjin. For example, one girl rejoiced on Rednote, which is like China's Instagram. Finally, now I can picture in my head the exotic-looking yet sunshiny prince who is usually the second male lead in romance novels and who always becomes very timid and careful around the girl he loves. Well, that's very specific. Other girls were more straightforward. For example, this one. So handsome. However, Dingjin was completely oblivious to his sudden fame. 3 days after he went viral, one media outlet went to interview him. Do you know you're super famous online these days? I don't know. Many shows and companies are now trying to recruit you. Have you heard about these things? I don't know. Do you want to be a star? Horse racing prince. I don't know what a horse racing prince is, but it doesn't really matter, because entertainment agencies all over China soon swarmed into Litown, wanting to get their grubby hands on Dingjin's newfound fame. But they were too late. Just a week after Dingjin went viral, he became an employee of Litown Cultural and Tourism Development Company Limited, a local government-owned company. Regardless of what you think about governments in China, this was a good thing, because the entertainment industry in China is very, very dirty, just like everywhere else. With this company, Dingjin earns a monthly salary of $500, decent by local standard, and his job is to help promote tourism for Litown County, his hometown. The company would also help manage his personal IP, and he would keep all the income he receives from potential contracts and stream donations. And it worked. Thanks to his popularity, tourism in Litown grew 70% that year. A fine and dandy story so far, sort of, but things soon took a bizarre turn. Dingjin's sudden rise to fame, it turned out, made a group of people who call themselves the small-town problem solvers very, very mad. So who are these people with this semi-badass name? Well, they're the late millennials and early Gen Zs in China, male mostly, who are very good at solving math problems, and physics problems, and chemistry problems, and I think you get the idea. Basically, they're college-educated dudes in their 20s and 30s who have endured the infamous Gaokao, or China's National College Entrance Exam, to go to college. What's the big deal? Well, as you might know, China is a huge country with a lot of people. So if you want to go to college there, you have to compete fiercely with tens of millions of chronically sleep-deprived teens who are also taking the exam that year. And the cultural tradition of super ultra crazy intense focus on education certainly doesn't help. I mean, my mom literally told me when I was like 5 that if I failed to pass this Gaokao exam and go to college, I would be a social outcast and wouldn't be able to find a job. Joke's on her, I went to college and I'm still a social outcast and jobless. That's why I'm here making YouTube videos for you guys. Anyway, as you can imagine, this puts a huge amount of pressure on the poor Chinese kids who have to go through Gaokao every year, and they typically have nightmares about it years after. How do I know? Because I still dream about failing this stupid exam to this day, and so does my mom, and also this random Chinese dude I found on YouTube. So, many people who end up going to college in China actually come from small towns or rural villages, and they worked very hard, like sleeping for less than 6 hours a day or timing their meals so they can maximize their study time, all to gain a teeny tiny advantage in the exam over the other kids, who of course are doing the exact same thing to gain an advantage over them. And when they finally get to college, just as they think they have made it, life raises its long and hard middle finger to their faces. Sure, they still do well in exams, but they suck at a lot of other stuff, like socializing with classmates, networking with employers, and perhaps most importantly, getting a girlfriend. For the first time in their not very long lives, they encounter problems that they simply can't study their ways out of. Eventually, they realize that their lack in these areas, especially compared to their bourgeois classmates who grew up in big cities, is a product of their rural backgrounds. At the end of the day, it seems that all they're good for is solving problems in exams, hence the self-deprecating nickname, small-town problem solvers. And as Confucius once said, if thy neighbor suddenly becomes rich and famous, thou shalt get mad. To the small-town problem solvers, Ding Zhen might not be their neighbor, but he's certainly someone they can relate or even feel superior to. After all, he's just a simple herdsman from a backwater county, and his unfounded fame got them triggered, big time. Because by this point, Ding Zhen was no longer just trending on social media. He had become a national phenomenon. Everyone was talking about him. First, he was interviewed by CCTV, China's biggest state-run media, which later made a documentary series featuring Ding Zhen promoting his hometown. After that, he appeared on shows, ads, gala performances, and even in a movie and a TV series. He collaborated with many celebrities, released an album, and started a charity fund. He was even invited to speak at an environmental event sponsored by the UN and was named Charity Person of the Year by the China Philanthropists magazine. Now, if you're wondering what Ding Zhen has done to deserve all these wonderful things happening to him, this is the question that the small-town problem solvers also asked, and they came to the unshakable conclusion that he had done absolutely nothing. This, they thought, was so unfair. To them, Ding Zhen was like the second middle finger that life gave them after college, and this time, it was longer, harder, and bigger. They had been told their whole lives that success is about hard work and academic excellence, but it seems that the society that had taught them this belief is now telling them that it was just kidding and has decided to favor this Tibetan farm boy instead. And for what? Because he's handsome? Says who? On Hupu, a popular basketball forum, where users, mostly dudes, like to argue about geopolitics and whether LeBron or Kobe is the better player, someone started a poll asking if people think Ding Zhen is as handsome as they are, a quite presumptuous question, and 63% voted no. But in their defense, they most likely know that they are not actually as handsome as Ding Zhen or me, and were just voting to make a point. But their point making didn't stop there. Remember how Chinese women fell for Ding Zhen because he's so wild and innocent? Now, people are posting pictures of animals all over the internet, like this cow or this dog, asking if they could also be the charity person, or in this case, the charity animal of the year, since they too are wild and innocent. There were also Soviet-style jokes about Ding Zhen on Weibo, China's version of Twitter. For example, someone yelled on the street, "Ding Zhen is a dumbass," and was immediately arrested and sentenced to 22 years in prison. 2 years for insulting a national idol, and 20 years for leaking the state secret. Or this one, the post office released a stamp to celebrate Ding Zhen but was forced to discontinue it after a month, because people kept spitting on the front of the stamp. This whole controversy about Ding Zhen will most likely have blown over by itself eventually, like most things on the internet. But China Youth Daily, a state-run newspaper, probably in an attempt to calm things, decided to intervene by running an article titled, "Why are small-town problem solvers taking their frustration out on Ding Zhen?" The article was not long, and its message can be summed up as, life is unfair, deal with it. Now, if you want to calm people, this is not how to do it. Plus, how rude of the newspaper to use people's self-deprecating nicknames against them. Needless to say, the small-town problem solvers were pissed. You're saying that we can't make fun of Ding Zhen? Alright, now we will make fun of Ding Zhen. And this time, their attack got a lot more personal. They first targeted Ding Zhen's lack of fluency in Mandarin, China's official language, as his native tongue is in Tibetan. During a livestream shortly after he became famous, Ding Zhen was asked which province was he from, to which he replied, "My mom gave birth to me." In Mandarin, province is sheng and to give birth is sheng, and as you can see, they sound quite similar. So Ding Zhen thought the question was who gave birth to him, and his haters, I think we can call them that now, went all in on it. They began making meme videos on Bilibili, China's version of YouTube, and yes, we have a Chinese version for everything. The video shows Ding Zhen being asked which province he's from, and after a sped up montage of the Earth or the universe that drags on for about a minute, he answers, "My mom gave birth to me," at suddenly increased volume. You get the idea. But of course, it didn't end there. Soon, a video surfaced online where Ding Zhen filmed himself vaping. What's the big deal? Well, his company, the one that hired him after he became famous, once said to the media that Ding Zhen is a good kid who doesn't smoke or drink, and Ding Zhen himself said the same thing in an interview. In China, the general belief is that if you smoke, drink, curse, give the finger, have two girlfriends, or go to the nightclubs, you know innocent. And a lot of celebrities have faced backlash for committing one or more of these sins. Personally, I find this excessive obsession with celebrities' moral virtues very stupid, but Ding Zhen did more or less lie on the issue, though his company tried to defend him by saying vaping doesn't count as smoking. And what Ding Zhen did during a live stream didn't help either. He was teaching his fans, mostly women of course, a few words in Tibetan. For example, ear is na sho, nose is na, mouth is ka, hair is ja, and husband is me. And then he proceeded to laugh at his own joke. And during this whole time, he was holding a vape in his right hand. To be fair, the joke was pretty smooth and probably gave many of his fans butterflies in their stomachs, but it definitely didn't jive with the image Ding Zhen and his company were trying to promote. He's pretty wild alright, but not that innocent. But of course, the haters would not let this opportunity go to waste, and soon a song titled "I Got Smoke" appeared on Bilibili, featuring Ding Zhen's voice generated by AI saying lyrics that pokes fun at him and the supposed absurdity of his fame. Here's a snippet of the song with the lyrics translated, but just in case it gets a copyright strike, you can search for "I Got Smoke" on YouTube. Okay, now let's hear it. The hate campaign against Ding Zhen reached its peak with the meme "Ding Zhen identifies," at least that's how I call it. The original meme is "一眼 Ding Zhen." 一眼 means at first glance, and Ding Zhen sounds like identify as true. So 一眼 Ding Zhen roughly translates to Ding Zhen identifies as true. Here's how it works. First, get a picture of Ding Zhen. Second, Photoshop something ridiculous onto him, like this monocle from Dragon Ball. Third, add an equally ridiculous caption. This is how you use it. Hey, Golden Dumpling is an ugly. Ding Zhen identifies this as false. And of course, like most memes, Ding Zhen identifies as a lot of variations. For example, Ding Zhen identifies you as pork. Okay, that one feels a bit personal. However, the trouble for Ding Zhen didn't end there. So, Ding Zhen has a lot of fans, women, and some of them are very obsessive. Some of them wanted to sleep with him, but they couldn't. So they went to the next best thing, me. Actually, it was Ding Zhen's uncle. Remember I mentioned earlier that this uncle is a boy? Yup, he's somewhat of a sleazeball. Ever since Ding Zhen became famous, he has been capitalizing on his nephew's fame. He opened a motel in Litown for fans who came to see Ding Zhen, but they could only see Ding Zhen through him. He frequently asked Ding Zhen to join his live stream to boost views, and of course, slept with Ding Zhen's fans who were staying at his motel and who fell for him because, like Ding Zhen, they also found him wild and innocent, though he definitely falls on the wilder side. The reason we know this is because one of the fans, after sleeping with him, found out that he was actually married with kids. Not only that, he was sleeping with other fans. The aggrieved fans went on to Weibo to accuse the uncle of his crime, and someone who was allegedly in the know said that the uncle never washed his ding-ding before he bong-bonged with the fans. If you ask me, you should always wash your ding-ding before you bong-bong with the ladies. With all that being said, we have yet to talk about how Ding Zhen felt about his sudden fame and all the controversy surrounding him. He definitely knows about his haters. After all, they were posting memes about him all over the internet. To this, he said, "I know there are a lot of people who love me, and I know there are a lot who don't. But I don't care about what people say, because you only get to live once. What's important is to stay happy." Some words to live by, I'd say.